hopefully most of you know not to eat this garbage, these Impossible Burgers, these Beyond Meat burgers. You know, the CEO, Patrick Brown of Impossible Burger, has repeatedly said that his goal is to put animal agriculture out of business by the year 2035. Now, that statement was made in about 2018, and now 2023, we're seeing they're laying off 20% of their staff. So good job, folks, for resisting stuff. But let's talk a little bit about, is the Impossible Burger a healthy alternative to beef? Because there are a lot of people out there, particularly in the plant-based side, and some other folks that are anti-meat that will continue to push this nonsense as food that we should eat. You know, what is Impossible Burger? Well, it is a food-like substance that has been made by a company called Impossible Foods. Now, they make that along with some sort of chicken-looking objects, fake sausages, in an attempt to provide not only the vegan community, but their target audience is really meat eaters. That is 95% of their sales are going to meat eaters, which, like I said, have largely rejected that. But let's dig further into what is in this stuff. Now, one of the things that set them apart was the use of something called a plant-based heme. As you know, heme iron is what is responsible for giving meat some of its flavor and that sort of tendency to quote-unquote bleed. Now, remember, I've said in the past, the red juice that comes out of a cooked steak is not blood, but it is myoglobin, and heme is part of that. And so Impossible Foods was able to coax a heme-like substance called LEGHEMOGLOBIN out of soy, and this is meant to mimic the sort of the appearance and perhaps a little bit of the taste of actual beef. Now, unfortunately, this is one of many harmful ingredients that has been found in Impossible Burger. And so it should be noted that back in 2015, Impossible Burger was rejected from the FDA due to lack of any proof of the safety of that product. And so they asked that they do a 90-day study on rats to showcase its safety. Now, I have a problem with that, you know, thinking about this is food you're going to introduce to potentially millions of people, and the only safety data is coming from a 90-day study on rats. Now, in 2017, they decided they were going to do this rat study, except instead of doing it for 90 days, they only did it for 28 studies. They sent that through, and they somehow, despite this, they were able to convince the FDA to give them an approval, a generally recognized as safe designation. Now they basically just skirted just even the minimum requirements. Now, this ended up leading to a lawsuit because of what the substance may do to the body. Now, the research that they did showed that, you know, on the rats, the soy LEGHEMOGLOBIN caused a decrease in our ability to clot our blood, which can be important. You know, if you can't clot your blood, then you may, you know, potentially have bleeding issues, you know, bleeding strokes into your brain, bleeding from other areas. So it can be a problem. It can cause unpredictable drops in blood glucose. Now, I know we often are concerned about high blood glucose, but low blood glucose equally can be a problem. It was shown in the rats, at least, to show decreased chloride, which can be a sign of kidney damage in some cases. Unexplained weight loss also in these animals was a problem. Decreases in alkaline phosphatase, which can often indicate malnutrition. And then in the female rats, or the uteri, damage in the uteri of the female rats. So potentially, again, this is a short rat study, so we don't know what it's going to do long-term to humans. But Impossible Foods dismisses it, saying this isn't significant. There's no real toxicological relevance to these findings, and therefore we should go ahead and push it on the population. Now, the second ingredient is the soy protein concentrate. Now, again, 2019, they switched from their major protein source being wheat to a soy protein, which is kind of like, you know, picking between one evil or the other. Now, regardless, the company didn't take into account the amount of problems this product would cause by putting in their products. First, it's made from soy. Studies have shown it's been linked to obesity, diabetes, lowering testosterone, damaging female sex hormones, hypothyroidism, and mental health disorders, as well as neurological disorders. Also, they decided to not really worry about the source of the soy, and so much of it is imported from places like China, where they use heavily modified, genetically modified soy as well. And also, there tends to be a fairly significant high levels of glyphosate in these products. We know that glyphosate potentially can have effects on our gut and our microbiome. Some would suggest it leads to things like IBS, other gastrointestinal disorders, and in high enough doses, glyphosate has been linked to certain types of cancer. Another ingredient is potato protein. Now, again, potato proteins are extracted and concentrated in a way that, you know, we're not really designed to eat these things. And vegans praise potato protein for being relatively allergen friendly and rich in amino acids, which it is. But one of the things to note is that because these things are hyper-processed, we're not sure if our body is designed to take this on. This is the same thing with all ultra-processed foods. We take these concentrated nutrients, out of their natural form and hyperconcentrate them, and then ask our digestive system to sort it out. And that can be a problem. It can lead to things like inflammation and other metabolic disturbances. The other one is sunflower oil. And again, this is an oil that's been extracted using volatile substances, extreme heating, again, solvents and deodorants to make the oil edible. It is primarily an omega-6 fat, which can be susceptible to oxidation and thus be potentially inflammatory. Also, aldehydes can be associated with these oils, which can lead potentially to DNA issues, and then some sub-studies would suggest things like dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease. The average industrial sunflower oil has about 4 grams of omega-6 polyunsaturated fats per tablespoon, which is a fairly high amount. Quite honestly, it's quite a significant amount as composed to things like beef tallow, which will have 0.05 grams. So, 1/8 of the amount, depending on where it's been sourced from. Cultured dextrose is another product. And again, this is just basically fermented sugar. This fermented dextrose is added to prevent mold and extend the shelf life. And again, it's an added sugar, which has its own issues. And I would suggest that anything that allows for extended periods of shelf lives are probably foods that we generally are not designed to eat. It's better to eat whole, fresh foods as much as possible. Dextrose, again, is derived from corn, which, again, is a problem for a number of reasons, which I've talked about in other videos. Methylcellulose, again, this is basically indigestible fibers. You can think of it basically as sawdust. This is something that occurs when cellulose is heated and combined with a methyl salt. It can be used as a thickener or an emulsifier to give that fake meat that kind of more of a squishy texture and feel. Like all fibers, it's indigestible and can lead to digestive issues such as constipation, so on and so forth. What can you do? Well, the easier answer is don't eat this garbage, of course, and tell your friends and loved ones not to eat this garbage and why they may choose not to do so, and educate them on the actual benefits of real foods like meat, and then learn about the actual environmental impacts, which are wildly overstated by most plant-based advocates, vegans, and the corporations that are pushing this upon us through the media, which they largely control through financing. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful to you. Let me know if you've ever tried these things, and if so, what was the result? Did they taste good? I've never tried them, so I can't tell you, and I don't plan to do so. So I'll have to, just kind of hear vicariously from the comments. And how did you feel after you ate that? Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll talk to you soon.